and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. And welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop, and we're back and we're ready to go.
Woo!
Who do I got here with me today, and what book did you bring for us to talk about?
So, my name is Ashely, one of the most beloved guests on the Book Stop podcast. So, we actually did a few books this time. We're doing the Prophecies Begin series of the Warriors, which is I like to say the Warrior Cat series, but apparently it's just called Warriors. And it's by Erin Hunter.
Yeah, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while since you've been on, and I really like this new setup we got because I just get to stare directly into your...
I know, we're really close.
We're really close.
It's intimidating.
We moved recently, and luckily we have no more neighbors above us, so we have no more loud dogs barking, our kids running around, so...
Thank goodness.
Hopefully this episode will be a little bit quieter, but yeah, we're trying a new place to record, so we're a little bit closer together.
It's a very intimate podcast now.
Should we do a little ASMR?
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast. Meow.
So, just for the listeners here, I have this little cat, and I thought it was very fitting for doing the Warrior Cat series, and it just kind of sits on your finger, and it just stares blankly in your face.
Little finger puppet.
Yeah. Oh, puppet?
Not puppet.
Ashely, you are a puppet.
That was the most haunting book we've ever read.
Oh,
I hate that book.
Oh my god. I was listening to that podcast, and it is so funny. If you haven't listened to How to Sell a Haunted House podcast that we did, it's so funny.
Yeah, listen to the podcast, but don't read the book, especially if you're afraid of puppets. It's not the vibe.
But let's talk about what we're talking about today. Yeah, we are doing the Prophecy Begins, the Warrior series. We're going to do Into the Wild, Fire and Ice, Forest of Secrets, Rising Storm, A Dangerous Path, and The Darkest Hour.
Spooky.
These are all written by Erin Hunter, and a little tidbit, a little backstory on that. So the story, the arc of the actual story, was kind of crafted by Kate Carey, and I've never seen this name before in my entire life. Sheriff?
I guess, yeah.
Sheriff Baldry? And then Victoria, who is Erin's, that's her pen name is Erin Hunter, which is kind of interesting that her last name is Hunter when it's a Warrior Cat series.
Yeah, we see what you did there, Erin.
And then Victoria, or Erin, she wrote the actual story. So, but yeah, we're gonna hop into it. I do know that this is a children's book, and I do want to make sure that we bring that out at the very beginning of this podcast. That this is a children's book. Or like what age group would you say this would be good for?
You know, I would personally say that this would be good for, teenagers or, preteens. But I know as a fact that children were reading this series.
Yeah.
Very young, between, 8 and 13. Kids were learning how to read with this book. And that is insane to me.
I did not expect what I read. When I was reading these books, I did not expect that to happen. And in the first chapters of the first book.
You are learning about death from the Warrior series.
And there's so much, religious content, and, being an atheist. And,
I can imagine being 8 years old and, going up to my mom and being like, Mom, am I going to go to Starclan when I die?
Oh, God. Yeah, so we're going to talk about all the different books. I don't really think we have a big following of Warrior Cats on this podcast, but if you are obscenely into it and it's your whole life story, you have a tattoo, if you've gotten to this extreme in your life, then I apologize, because
And I just want to say, you might need to go to therapy, because if you read this as an 8-year-old, I think there might be something there.
Yeah, there's something hidden behind the whiskers, okay?
But we really respect you. I mean, we are a cat. We are a cat lover podcast here.
Yes.
I mean, I know there are some other guests that come on here and they're like dog people, but we are pure blood cat people right here. So
yes, we both have cat tattoos.
Yes.
Multiple,
So while we are going to be making fun of the series, just know that we love you. You're heard, okay? And you're valid.
You're seen. We see you.
This is a safe podcast, okay? You can feel safe here.
To get us started, we're going to play a little game. So you're going to summarize this book in 30... You know what? Because it's a whole series, I'm going to give you a solid minute.
Ooh.
Like a solid minute to kind of describe from first book to the last.
Okay.
Moving forward in the podcast, we are going to kind of break it down a little bit so it's not so much, but it's a lot in this.
Yeah.
So, begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, so it starts off with this little kitty named Rusty, and he's freaking sick and tired of his life. He hates his whole grain food. So anyways, he goes into the forest, and he sees this other cat, and this other cat is like, oh my gosh, what the heck are you doing here? They fight, and then he's like, man, I want to be a wild cat. So they do actually let him in, which is shocking. They don't kill him. They let him in. Everyone's like, what the frick is this Kittypet doing here? And he's like, I just want to be one of you. So then he attacks someone else. Basically, now this Kittypet is just taking over Thunderclan. He is going up in the ranks. There's so much drama that happens. A million people die. A million cats die in between. No one is fazed by any of this. All the clans are coming together. There's just so much that happens.
Oh god. Yeah! I love that you described the first book in so much detail and you just skipped 6 books.
Because I just feel like everyone dies.
Yeah.
They all fight, they all die, and
there is a lot of death in this. And I think that's one thing we're going to talk about a lot within this. So it's such a big focal point, and I do want to discuss it a little bit further, but for right now I'm going to summarize it for anybody who hasn't heard of the Warrior Cat series. For generations, 4 clans of wild cats have shared the forest according to the laws laid down by their ancestors. But now, Thunderclan is in grave danger. Rival ShadowClan is growing stronger, a traitor may be hiding within their midst, and rising tensions threatens every cat in the forest. In the dark days ahead, Thunderclan's fate will rest in the paws of an unexpected hero, an ordinary house cat named Rusty, who may yet turn out to be the bravest of all of them.
I love Fireheart.
You're a Fireheart fan?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm getting my Fireheart tattoo. It's already scheduled, so.
Okay, I want to get a blue star. Blue star.
That's controversial.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah. So let's just hop into it, shall we?
Let's go.
So what in the series is your favorite quote?
The quote that I chose for today is, Gray Stripe, whatever you decide to do, I'll always be your friend.
Aww.
And that's from Firestar, Fire and Ice.
Interesting that he says that to the most unloyal.
I know, that's why I had to choose it. Because I'm like, man, Gray Stripe does him dirty.
He does. Gray Stripe doesn't understand the bros before hoes.
No. Not at all.
I think it's kind of funny that he gets a girlfriend and then just straight up leaves Fireheart.
It's honestly mind-boggling, and I don't know, for any of y'all that listen to the audiobook, my name is Gray Stripe, and I love to sleep with this other cat.
Yeah, I don't know why he just gave him a lisp. A little bit of a lisp.
Every time Gray Stripe talked, I just wanted to punch something. Oh
god. It was interesting for sure. I don't remember anybody else getting accent. It was just him.
Just Gray Stripe.
Did it say in the book that he had a lisp? It did?
Wait, what?
It said in the book that he had a lisp.
No.
Okay.
He just made that up. It was
He took creative freedom. And rolled with it.
And I hated that freedom.
So I have 2 quotes, and mostly because they kind of correlate with each other. So my first quote that I have is from the very last sentence or paragraph of the first book. So this one is right after Firepaw has become Fireheart, and Fireheart looked at the moon above his head. His orange coat glowed silver in the cold light, and the life of a warrior stretched ahead of him. He felt unrestrained joy flood from his paws and surge through his body. Then he opened his eyes with a jolt. Another set of eyes were staring back at him, Tiger Claw. Fireheart stared back without blinking. He was a warrior now. He had made an enemy of the clan's deputy, but Tiger Claw had made an enemy of him. Fireheart was not the same naive young cat who had joined the clan all those moons ago. He was bigger, stronger, faster, and wiser. If he was destined to oppose Tiger Claw, then so be it. Fireheart was ready for the challenge. Ooh!
Go Fireheart!
Go Fireheart! And then my second quote, it correlates right back to that quote, and it's from Blue Star when she is ultimately losing her last life. She says, "You will make a great leader, one of the greatest the forest has ever known. You will have the strength of fire to protect your clan and the fierceness of fire to defend it. You will be Firestar, the light of Thunderclan." Wow, doesn't that just send chills up your spine?
So much so.
Like,
but
so much goosebumps.
we also know that Blue Star is awful at naming people. But she did okay that time.
True. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to choose from. My biggest thing is, like, yes, this is a children's book, right? Or, like, adolescents, we'll say. Mm-hmm. It is a children's book. But just because it's a children's book does not mean that it has to be bad. Effort doesn't go down simply because the children don't find the exact meanings that most adults do in books. When an adolescent is reading a book, and, like, finally reading a book, because it's so hard to get kids to read nowadays, you don't want them to just eat up this random, messages that don't really matter or have a meaning to it. You want there to be something in there, because there has to be a purpose. A lesson. There has to be a lesson to be learned. And it's just frustrating to me that every time I do a children's book on here, it's like, well, it's a children's book. You can't judge it too hard. And it's like, yeah, but also there should be some sort of lesson to be learned.
Right. And kids are so impressionable. And there is an overarching lesson of, like, you can grow and the person who you least expect to become something does become something. And that's the overarching lesson from this book. But there's so much else that she could have added in.
Yeah, so I just really like that because I think it shows foreshadowing for the rest, because obviously he's going to be the clan leader. You know that, page 1.
Yep.
But it just shows that progression within his own character as he grows within the story. So, let's hop into it, shall we? So what are some things that you liked about this series?
So I am a big cat person. Like, I love cats. That was one of the reasons I wanted to read this book, is because, well, first of all my friends read this book when I was a kid, and I was super jealous that they all read it and I didn't. So whenever we played
rub it in their face.
Right. Whenever we played Warrior Cats, they would all choose a cat, like, oh my gosh, I'm Fireheart, I'm this, and I'd be like, I'm a kit. So anyways,
I'm sorry. What was that?
We did play Warrior Cats, so, but...
Okay, I mean, my family and I and my friends, we used to play Pokemon, so it's like, that's the joy of childhood, right? Is that you get to have those, like, make-believe moments, let your imagination explore, and, like, if Warrior Cats was the thing, then that's what it was.
It was. But for the record, I am so glad I didn't read this book when I was a kid, because I am such an emotional person, and I was such an emotional child, and I just know that if I had read this book, I would read about all these cats dying, and I would be traumatized. Like, I know that I would have been on the floor sobbing, and then my dad would come in and be like, what happened? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, Firestar just saw another cat be brutally murdered and rip out his organs, and he lost all 9 lives. And then I'd probably be institutionalized as a child because I wouldn't get over that.
So how is that different from today?
I'm heading to the institution after this podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So, what I liked about this book... I did like the cat aspect. I feel like it was true to cat-like behavior. That is one thing that Erin did in this book, is that it was very cat-like. Like, they did do very cat things. The names of things were what I would expect a cat to call something. So yeah, I liked the cat aspect as a cat lover. This is a very interesting series.
No, I definitely agree. There was times where I would forget that they were cats. I kept relating it to, like, a D&D group. that's a paladin, and this is the fighter. And I'm just obsessed with D&D, but I kept just relating them, and then they would say, like, you know, he meowed, or, you know, he shared tongues with somebody, and I'm like, oh, right, they're not humans.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about sharing tongues, don't worry. Some of my likes is, there's no really particular order to my likes. They're kind of all over the place, because that's how it was reading this, where I felt like I would read something and it would pull me back to book one, or I'm like, yeah, that did connect to that, so I really liked that. I really liked the conversations that Blue Star had with the higher-ups at the gatherings. There was one where they're talking about, I think they're getting rid of Wind Clan. They didn't want to bring them back, because they wanted all the resources. Blue Star had said, you know, there's always been 4 seasons, so there's always got to be 4 clans, and I think that in itself was a good conversation. It was very mature for this type of book. So I just felt, I like the conversations that Blue Star had. We'll be talking about Blue Star a lot, I guarantee, because she was a very focal point of the story. I like the idea of the 9 lives. I didn't think I would at first. It really threw me by surprise, but it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good tie to the Star Clan. Good mechanic to put into the story, where it's like, you know, the leader of the clan has all these extra lives to defend the clan, and like make sure that you know, if you kill her off on the first life, then you know all these suspicious things are happening, and she can come back and like still lead within it. So I really like that aspect. And oh my god! And then when Fireheart became Firestar, and then all of his lives came from all the dead friends.
I know. Like, oh my gosh. Again, if I had read that when I was 8 years old, I would not be okay. To all of you who read this series as a child, I just want to say again, I'm thinking about you, and I hope you're okay.
I think the names were pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, I really liked some of them. They were, again, I think this is why it felt very D&D, because they felt like D&D names. Like Running Wind, Morning Flower was cute, Night Pelt. These names were good.
But then imagine your name is Broken Face.
That's messed up, yeah. Or Half Tail, or Crooked Foot.
It's so
They did come for, you know, I feel like this is a write-up, or like I need to reach out to HR type deal. On some of these names.
I gotta live my whole life as Running Nose.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, no, they were kind of messed up, but I think it was an interesting way. Like, imagine this entire book and my name's Steve. Like, I can't take Steve seriously.
Sorry, you mean Steve Paw?
It was also interesting that they started out with, like, Paw, and then they got their warrior names, and then they would get their, like, leader names as they went. I think that was very interesting. It was confusing at first, when I was like, why is everyone freaking named Paw? Or Fur? And then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
I like and dislike all of relationships that you see along the way. And there are parts that I dislike about it too, because again, it's just like there's so much happening and a lot of people die. But like, for example, I really liked Yellowfang and Fireheart's relationship and how that progresses through the series. It's like sweet but sad in its different ways. That is actually one other book that I would like to read, maybe learning more about Yellowfang. She's got a lot of lore and a lot happens with her, so I don't know. I do like some of the relationships along the way, but again, it's like you never know who's gonna die. This is really like Game of Thrones-esque.
Yeah, it's very Game of Thrones, where you can't get attached to any of them.
No.
Any of them. Because they're like any corner. Which I guess adds a little bit of thrill to it, because it's like, well, who's gonna die this chapter? Like,
what scene do you feel like is like the red wedding?
That's a good question. Maybe the fire, because a lot of people
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
so,
there's a couple. See, there's multiple red weddings.
Yeah, this is you arguably worse than Game of Thrones.
Why isn't this a TV series yet?
Is it not?
Oh, is it? I didn't think it was.
I know
they have the graphic novel.
Yeah, they have the graphic novel, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look that one up.
Let's stop Toy Story 5 and to all that money to work.
Again, I don't think this needs to be a movie. Too many kids will be traumatized.
Okay, but a TV show. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't need to be a movie. It won't cover everything.
They need to start now. All the Warriors kids have grown up.
Yeah.
So everybody's adults now who read this series. So they need to now make a TV show for adults.
Can we talk about something really quick?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how much there is? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of just the Warrior series. I'm sorry, not 5 books. 5 series of 6 books.
Oh my God. Erin, take a break. Breathe.
And then you have the Explore the Warriors world, and then you have the manga, and then you have all the novellas, and then you have Seekers, and then you have Survivors. Sis really popped off on this.
She really did. And that's, we're going to get into that later, but I honestly feel like she was just trying to write as much as possible to make that money. She wasn't thinking about the kids. She said, fuck them kids.
She did.
I'm making money.
She did. There's a couple more things that I like, just like little things. I think the general thing I do liked about the whole series is we follow Rusty to Firestar. Like, we get to follow his entire journey there. Not always a good thing. There was some negative things there, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then my last thing is that I really like there was no kings and only queens.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say that. Absolutely. Go off,
and
queen.
there was so many, it was kind of surprising. There was so many queens in a clan, which I wasn't expecting.
That was the other thing that was kind of interesting, is why was Grey Stripe so focused on being a father to the kids when that wasn't really common? It was more of the queens took care of the kids, but Grey Stripe for some reason was like, I'm a father.
Yeah.
I'm going to River Clan, but then still abandoned them anyway.
He brought the milk back, but he took it back to the store, yeah.
He said, I'm returning the milk.
This is really inspired. Okay, no. Dude, can we hold on? I know we're kind of going off track already, but speaking of death.
Oh no.
Silverstream died during the birth of his children?
Right.
That was messed up.
I feel like that was almost real to, like, cat life, though. I was thinking about that, too. So I was like, what the heck? But then I was like, okay, wait. They don't have a vet on scene.
Cinderpaw was there, okay?
Cinderpaw was fake.
She was just an apprentice.
I just don't trust Cinderpaw. So, Cinderpaw couldn't do anything, and they don't have a vet on scene to, like, help. So, it was realistic, but what the heck?
You know what? We'll come back to the Silverstream thing, because I have a few things I want to talk about, but the first thing we need to discuss is the Warrior Code, which is, we're saving that for later. I cannot bring that up right now, because I'm going to get heated, and we have too many things to cover. So.
Yes. This is going to be a long one.
This is going to be a long one. I told you it was going to be long. Okay, so what are some things that you disliked about this series?
Is that it's advertised to children. I really dislike that. So, the publishing company is HarperCollins. And I just want to say, HarperCollins, did you read this series? Did you actually open up what you were going to be publishing advertised to children? Did you know what you were doing before? Again, I know I've said this a million times, and I know I'm going to keep saying it. But this is traumatizing. So before this podcast, I was looking up warrior cats on TikTok because I just wanted to see what other people had to say about it. And I saw this TikTok. She literally ranted for 5 minutes. She had not read the series since she was 10. She was able to rant, no context, not looking anything up, rant for 5 minutes straight about all the stuff that happened in the series. She's actually traumatized. If you're able to remember that, she was probably like, at most 23. So she remembered all of that off the top of her head just from reading the series when she was 10. I know I keep reiterating that, but it is just insane to me.
Yeah.
This actually did affect kids. I feel, and again, this will be talked about in like missed opportunities, but I just think that they could have done it a little bit differently where it would be less harmful to kids. Because like, I know I would have been really affected by seeing all these people die. Starting to see like Blue Star go insane, because I know Blue Star was probably a lot of kids' favorites for a bit, but then she started going insane and making all these weird decisions, and people were brutally murdered. It described things in detail about how cats were murdered.
I guess to be like devil's advocate, if you look at this literature that was out around the same time, or like 5-6 years later with Hunger Games, Hunger Games is another book that was, middle schoolers were reading that, lower grades were reading. That was in the children's section of the library. Like, that is another very brutal, very, like, I reread Hunger Games, and I don't remember it being that much. That's another book that is glorified, almost. It's like, oh, this is an amazing book, but the core of it is about killing children. And it's the same thing. It's like, how can you promote a book like this to impressionable kids and think that it's okay. And it's like, some schools are requiring them to read it now. And there's like, I never read Lord of the Flies, but I've heard that's kind of like the same thing. And like, there's these books that, and I will never be the type of person that says that we should ban certain books from schools. Yeah. So I think it is good to get out there and get the message, but you have to be giving a reason of why you're doing it. And there has to be ways for it to be better. You can't sit here and promote and glorify the fact that people are killing each other without giving something at the end, or like some sort of golden light of, oh, we'll get better, but, or something. Like, I don't know. This book was, like you said, very graphic in places and very, like, too much at times.
I also think it's, like, the way that the characters process death, they don't.
They don't
so, it's like, if you are a kid, like, for example, if you're 8 years old reading this series, you don't even have a concept of what death really is at that point. And you're seeing all these characters who are losing the people that they care most about in their life. Their favorite people die, and they just move on immediately. And I know they live in the forest, and it's different context to, like, human beings. Like, we live very different lives, but still, kids learn from what they're reading and they're seeing. Oh, someone dies, you're just not supposed to care.
At the beginning of this series, they did, like, make a big notion of, like, let's bury them and where they have, like, the night where they sit around them. And,
that's true.
And stuff. But by the end of the book, they never do that. They would be like, oh, we buried Blueheart, but there was nothing else. I think with the death in this story is that it correlates so much the StarClan. StarClan is basically heaven. That is one of the main reasons why they add so much focal point to it. I don't know. I think that the death in this could have definitely been pulled back, and there didn't need to be so much focus on it. That's what happens when you live on the streets,
I mean, there could have been more injuries, like, and then the medicine cat has to work on healing them. Well, and I know there was that, but there was a lot of that, but, like, come on.
There's gotta be a give. And that was, like, one of my dislikes, is that it's mostly bad things that happen. There was never really any moments of joy or even, like, comic relief or anything. It was just go, 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 defend, 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 fight, fight, fight. But there wasn't any breakage from that. Right. There was, like, when the kids were born, there was no, kids meaning kittens, there's no joy behind it. It's just like, well, we gotta make sure no one kills them. Because, oh my god, can we talk about how much the kids were being stolen in this book? Every book ended, or at some point had at the end of the book, their kittens being stolen. And, that brings me to the Wario Code for just 1 second. We're just going to dabble a little bit in the Wario Code. I just want to talk about how the Wario Code, number 5, Wario Code 5, if you will, if you're with me. No warrior can neglect a kit in pain or danger, even if that kit isn't from a different clan.
Why are we not following the code?
Dude, that is the number one question I have in this whole book, is no one follows the code. And I don't want to get into the code right now because that's going to be a 25-minute long segment because I have so much to say about the code. But that one really bothered me. That was, like, my biggest dislike, is that literally kids were always in danger. Always.
And that, you know what? That's actually bringing me back to my childhood again. Because, like I said earlier in the podcast, I was always a kit because I didn't know any of the cats. And yeah, I was always being taken or being attacked, and then the other cats would have to save me. Like, we are 10. And we are pretending to murder each other and kill children. We're not okay.
It was interesting for sure. Let's move on. As much as I loved the names, I enjoy the way that they broke it down. It was so confusing when they kept changing their names. Rusty to Fireheart to Firestar. It was so confusing. I couldn't keep track of how many, because there's so many characters. There are so many characters. It is so hard to keep track of who's on one clan and who's a kid and who's now a warrior and, who's dead. Like, there's so many names.
And then when all the kits started becoming warriors too, and then it got confusing for me there too, because it was like everybody's changing all at once now, but then some people got held back, like some of the cats got held back, but for some reason Cloud Kit still became a warrior, even though all these other, I don't know.
That was because he had that connection. His uncle was the deputy at the time, so it's all about connections.
I hate politics.
You break this book down to its core. It's about politics, religion, death.
Man, I take everything back. The kids are learning. Now they know what it's like to be in the real world. This was just preparing them for adulthood.
Yeah. This series, there were so many really boring parts that I don't understand why we had to bring them out. Every book had at least 5 or 6 chapters that were, first, all recap of what already happened. Mm-hmm. Very repetitive. Here's what they did, right? Killing. We discussed this. Mm-hmm. Sharing tongues. Liking each other. And hunting. That was like all, and kidnapping, obviously, kidnapping. Mm-hmm. Those were the main things.
You mean kidnapping.
Kidnapping, you're absolutely right. It was just a lot of the same things over and over and over again. I think in the first 3 books were the worst. When we got to book 4, we had the fire, so that kind of shook some things up. Yeah. 2 legs, which are people. The 2 legs were a little bit more introduced. The dogs in it. That shook up the story, but the first 3 books were it was just the same thing over and over again.
Right. Which is, again, because Erin is just getting out these books so fast.
Yeah, cranking them out.
Yeah, cranking them out. She just had to keep putting the same thing in there over. I'm sure that's what the other series are, too.
Oh, absolutely. When I say, 2 moons ago, I was, I was outside fishing. What do you think that means? But 2 moons ago.
I want to say that as an adult, I am an idiot.
So, a moon cycle, right? The moon
comes should have looked it up.
No. This is common sense. You don't need to look it up.
I don't know when the moon comes out. I don't know when the full moon happens.
No, I'm not asking about the full moon. I'm talking about moon period. Moon period. MOON. When a moon comes out, what time of day is it?
Night.
So when I say 2 moons ago, 2 nights ago, I checked. Nowhere in this book does it say anything about a full moon. Ever. Oh. So whenever they kept saying, the kids were 6 moons, I'm thinking they're 6 days old. But they're saying it's a month. It's so freaking confusing. I don't understand the math to it. Because they never say full moon. They're always like, 4 moons ago, he did this. And I'm like, okay, 4 days ago. And then I'm like, we're going to bring them out to warrior cats. Be warriors now. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, that was confusing. I do think I was going based off months when I was reading it.
Yeah, so number 6 on the warrior code. A kid must be at least 6 moons old to become an apprentice. It's confusing. Because I'm like, is it 6 days old? Like 6 moon cycles? Like in the sky? Or is it cycles? Like a full moon? Like is it full 6 moons?
I'm pretty positive it's the full moon.
It's gotta be, yeah. But when you're reading it's so confusing because I think, it's been, 6 days.
And again, I'm an adult, and that confused me. But imagine you're 8 years old. Yeah. You don't even know what the moon cycle is.
Yeah. Okay, can we talk about the warrior code?
Yeah, it's time.
Let's just hop into it. We've been dabbling in it, and it's time to just hop into it. So if you're willing to partake in this little moment here, I want to read to you the warrior code.
Okay.
Now the warrior code is comprised of 14 rules. In my personal opinion, too many. Mm-hmm. Too many rules to follow.
Mm-hmm. There's follow-up rules. That's that's not in the rule book.
1A.
Right.
Footnote B.
There's a whole new list of exceptions.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be reading the exceptions, but there's a lot of them. It's if it's on the full moon, this doesn't apply. If you're on the way to the moon star, if you're in the middle of prayer, it's oh my gosh.
So what's the point of having a code?
Right.
Okay, let me dive into it. Would you like to participate and read some of these too?
Yeah.
I'll read a couple. I'll send it over to you. Okay. Rule number 1. You would think is the most important. Mm-hmm. And this is really important. And I want everyone to focus in. I want everyone to stop driving, stop talking, just focus in.
Take your hands off the wheel.
Brittany Broski here, and I'm telling you to take your hands off the wheel. Defend all the clans, even with your life. Your first loyalty must ensure that no clan fails.
Freaking Wind Clan.
Oh, falls, sorry. Nevertheless, each clan is proud and independent with traditions that must always be respected.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that we say... Let me just say this again. All clans who follow the warrior code are an ally.
Also, it must ensure that no other clan falls. What happened to Wind Clan?
What's going on here, guys?
Interesting.
Did we just kind of forget what the code
We're already forgetting code number 1.
Dude, why did no one call out, hey, code number 1? Okay, go ahead.
Alright.
This is another one we need to focus on and listen to.
So code number 2. An honorable warrior does not need to kill other cats to win their battles, unless they are outside the code, or it is necessary for self-defense.
Right. Right. Now I'm starting to think that this is a different code. Because if you've listened to the last 40 minutes, there's so much death in this. And I will say Broken Tail, which we'll talk about in a second, is the exception because he very clearly was not the warrior code anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't living by the code. Okay?
Right.
Number 3. Elders, queens, sick or injured cats, and kits must be fed before apprentices and warriors. Unless they have permission, apprentices may not eat until they have hunted to feed the elders.
So, code number 4. A gathering of all 5 clans is held at the full moon during a truce that lasts for the night.
Which I think that's a cool rule.
Yeah.
I don't think you see that very often. So this is Wind Clan, Shadow Clan, Thunderclan, River Clan, and Star Clan. It's good communication for characters to have this moment of yeah, we're all here, or this protection over us, and we have treaties and land to protect. But for one night only, we come together and we kind of discuss when we need to, because yes, we're all divided, but this is one force that we share.
Right.
So I do like that.
Yeah.
We don't follow it, but I like it.
It's a good code.
Well, 5 is the one about, we don't neglect kits that are in pain or in danger, even if they're from a different clan. Nobody followed that in the entire book.
No.
A kit must be 6 moons old. We talked about that. So, number 7. The deputy will become a clan leader when the leader dies, exiles, or retires. So how did Thunderclan become Thunderstorm?
He just popped up.
It doesn't say elect. It says dies, retires, or exiled.
He just said, well, guys,
I'm here.
I'm here.
Because Nightpelt became Nightstar, right? He's the one that took over. So, where was he?
Right.
Did he just say, I'm passing the baton to you?
Right. I guess he retired immediately.
For 6 moons. He was like, I'm done.
For 1 moon and 1 moon only. Okay. 8. So, after the death, retirement, promotion, or exile of the deputy, the new deputy must be chosen before moon high. A cat cannot be made deputy without having mentored at least 1 apprentice. So again, he didn't do that in that clan. Shadow Clan.
Yeah.
He literally just hopped up in there.
Yeah.
And was like, hey guys.
So, if we go back to 3, this is okay. Or, I'm sorry, go back to number 2. We're okay to kill.
Right.
That's for what I picked up
Right.
from that. You're good to kill because he didn't go by the warrior code.
Yeah.
He's okay to kill.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
He's outside of the code.
He's outside of the code. Got it. Okay, number 9 is kind of long here, so bear with me. If a clan member believes that their leader is no longer leading with honor or integrity, they can challenge them. 3/4 of the clan members, including their medicine cats, must agree. Their objections will then be presented to the leaders of other clans. If the other leaders agree, all medicine cats will require that StarClan removes the remaining lives and give them to the deputies. These objections cannot be raised by the deputy. Interesting. Never mentioned.
Mm-mm.
And I think this would have been a good rule to pull in for Blue Star.
Yeah.
I think it would have been when she started to lose her mind.
Yeah.
And she started to turn on StarClan.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a good rule to pull into the story.
Right. So, number 10. A warrior or medicine cat may switch their allegiance from one clan to another, but must meet a set of conditions. The cat wishing to change clans must perform a task of their intended clan's choosing. If they succeed, it will be deemed StarClan's will that they change clans, and their request will be granted.
So, when Yellowfang came over, that didn't happen.
No. They were gonna kill her.
Yeah. They were gonna kill her. They gave her no opportunity. There was no task chosen. StarClan really... I think StarClan, like, gave an okay at the meeting. But why have this code if we're not gonna follow it?
Right, and then Greystripe was just jumping borders constantly.
Yeah.
And nothing ever happened to him. Like,
true. That is very true.
Like, flip-flopping.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm gonna go to, was it River Clan?
Yeah.
Which she was part of? Be with my baby mama.
Exactly.
And then I'm gonna come back because my baby mama ain't here anymore.
Right.
And then, yeah, he was just kind of
with the kids, and then he was like, fuck them kids, and then came back, and oh my gosh, like, it was just, like, nonstop.
Yeah.
So.
I hope in the next ones that we get to see a little bit more of that. I hope Fireheart becomes the clan leader of all clans. As one, like, dictatorship, almost.
Man, the kids be learning about everything.
11. Okay. Prey is killed only to be eaten. Give thanks to the Star Clan for its life. We did get a little segment of that in the 5th book, but it doesn't seem like it needs to be part of the warrior code. Didn't Ravenpaw kill that snake and then nobody ate it?
Yeah.
So
he should have been
America
murdered.
Explain. He should have been put on trial. and then StarClan should have struck him down where he stood.
Tiger Claw wanted to murder Fireheart for killing or for eating that mouse before he gave it to the elders. Immediately kill him. Like, he's dead.
Yeah.
When he literally broke every single one of the codes constantly throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
He broke every single code.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
When he killed all those rabbits for the dogs. Did he thank StarClan for their sacrifice? I think not.
Okay. Number 12. Newly appointed warriors will keep a silent visual for one night after receiving their warrior name. They did do that.
Yeah, they did. 13. A warrior rejects the soft life of a kitty pet. Okay, Cloud Kit.
Okay.
You stupid little cat.
So, because he went back, right? So Cloud Kit is Princess's, which we'll talk about later, son, which is Fireheart's nephew.
Yeah.
He went back to be a kitty pet for a little bit, and then he got mistreated, so then they pulled him back to the clans. No repercussions at all.
No.
And then they made him a warrior.
Yep.
Connections, of course, but...
Yep. Like I said, politics? Oh my gosh.
It don't make no sense. I'll just read the last two together because the 13 is really small. So boundaries must be checked and marked daily. And then 14, challenge all trespassing cats, but a warrior must always remember that all cats follow the rules. Okay, so challenge all trespassing cats. You just said in number 2 that we were all allies.
Yep.
So when will the lines stop? When will the truth be revealed? What is the answer?
Like I said, it's just... And then I was actually reading more about this. The funny thing is that later in the series, they changed the whole code.
Is this the later one?
This is the right one.
This is the right one. Okay.
Yeah. So, but they changed the whole thing later.
To be the devil's advocate, I mean, it's new generation, so it's like changing the rules because the old people didn't know what they were doing. Clearly,
it didn't work.
It didn't work. So that makes sense, but also it's like if that's your code, how can you justify not following it? Like the whole book is called Warriors. It's a warrior code. It's right in the title. What do you mean? So whenever I get mad and I say, what about the code? You can reference this part of the podcast. This is what I mean. So let's talk a little bit more in depth with the first 3. So we have Into the Wild, Fire and Ice, which is another Game of Thrones reference. So I think Erin was on something. George, you might want to check this out. See what's going on. Lawsuit can be waiting for you.
Ooh, I'm ready for that.
And then Forest of Secrets. Mm-hmm. Your initial thoughts when you started reading this? Like, when you opened the book, was it what you expected? Was it something completely different? Like, what were your initial thoughts?
I think it was what I expected, but at the same time, it was like, I waited all these years to read these books, and this is what I got. I mean, I should have expected that, because I'm an adult going back to read a children's series. And I think it's always different when you go back.
Oh, yeah.
It's what I expected, but, I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I didn't expect, again, there to be so much death and so much politics behind it. But I guess I wasn't expecting it to be so decently written. It's not, the writing isn't bad. It isn't, awful.
Right.
I think that Erin definitely has talent there, and I think that if she wrote something more her speed, more maybe a high fantasy, she would slay. Mm-hmm. This girl got 2 maps in this book. 2. We don't need 2 maps.
No.
She did that. Her speed, more her range, it would be really good. Yeah.
I agree. I liked the writing, but I also do feel like the plot and, the speed of the book fluctuated a lot. So, the writing style itself was good. I feel like some things went way too fast, but some things, weren't really addressed. And it was just what are we doing?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Speaking of the plot, I do want to talk about the plot for a little bit.
So it's focused on Thunderclan's perspective, but ultimately they do... It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender. We want all of these to live in peace and harmony, but they don't. So I feel like the ultimate goal is for Thunderclan to thrive and for each of the clans to kind of work together in harmony, but at the same time have their own territory. Yeah. So ultimately, they do want to, because according to the code, it's we all work together, but we're separate. And that's why they get together on the moons to gather and to make sure that everything's going well. And I think that's the thing. They could have had... Okay, sorry, I'm kind of going off track. But,
no, that's fine.
They could have had harmony of, this clan is suffering and they're not having enough prey. Mm-hmm. Why don't we work together to help them out instead of you having to feel like you need to sneak out to our territory? Which ultimately I feel like is what Thunderclan wanted, at least Fireheart. Because Fireheart had this perspective from his Kittypet life that he wanted everyone, why can't we all just work together?
Yeah.
Especially once Fireheart became in leadership, that would have been the ultimate goal. And that's the plot, in a way. But that's not what happened.
The plot kind of gets lost. It's very meddled in, all the little things that don't matter in the long run. For me, the main plot is treachery. Tiger Claw's, how he's being such a traitor to them, and, his rise of power. I think Tiger Claw's plot is so important, but takes such a back seat to everything. To the point where you kind of just forget he's there, and, or then forget that he's part of he's supposed to be suspicious. He's supposed to be the one you look out for, and, there's parts where, Fireheart kind of starts to trust him a little bit, and it kind of throws you under the bus a little. I just think that it could have been pulled in a little bit more to make it more of a focal point of the plot. When, in the second book, when Fireheart tells Blue Star what happens, nothing happened.
Right.
There's no repercussions. She's just, no.
Fireheart always told the wrong people. And I know he should have told Blue Star because Blue Star was technically the leader, but Blue Star wasn't there anymore. I felt like Fireheart kept a lot of secrets, but then always told the wrong people. I do want to go back and summarize. I feel like my plot point got very, I went off track, but I feel like it's ultimately, ultimately it was good versus evil. And we saw them both rise, and then, the good outweighed the evil.
The sudden introduction of Fireheart's sister princess.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of confusing. That sudden shift of loyalty of Fireheart being I spent the last book and a half trying to gain the loyalty of this clan, but now I just randomly woke up and remember to have a sister, and I kind of want to go join her. Why couldn't Princess just join him?
Right.
It didn't seem like Blue Star cared.
No.
And at that point, they were so desperate. She's another female cat, or she-cat they called them, that could have babies help their clan. Why wouldn't you have her join? I didn't understand, the pull of loyalty of, well, I kind of want to go be a Kittypet with my sister. And then he ultimately just, takes Cloud Kid, but...
I feel like she felt like she probably had to put that in there. Because it really was, he was a Kittypet and then literally just joined the Warriors and never had a doubt. I'm surprised they didn't put that in the first book, having him go back and forth. And I guess it makes sense of, he missed that lifestyle, especially after seeing all of the hardship that he faced within, once he joined. But it did seem very all of a sudden and out of nowhere. And I didn't remember anything about him having a sister. And it was just like, yeah, boom, he has a sister. I feel like they could have mentioned something in the first book of being like, I'm leaving behind someone in my house, and I didn't tell her. Unless they were in different houses.
This was, I can't remember if they were, like, litter siblings, or if they were just in the same household.
Yeah, it could have been worded a little better there.
Yeah. Another thing about the death. So, Broken Star. Mm-hmm. Broken Star was the leader, right, of the Shadow Clan? Mm-hmm. So, another thing. Sorry, sidetrack. There's so much that happens. Shadow Clan.
Yeah.
So when I first started reading this book, I thought Shadow Clan was to be the antagonist. Like, they were the bad clan. Like, they were the Blood Clan.
Right.
Like, they were the big bad. Literally never mentioned.
No.
Like, maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the entire series. Mm-hmm. They were just there, and then Broken Star was really the main. But there's a quote that I want to bring up that I found pretty messed up. Fireheart is talking to Yellowfang, who is his mother, which we find out, I think, in book 3, that she's his mother. She kills him.
I know! Oh my god!
She kills him. So Greypaw is talking with them as well, and Greypaw says, how could a leader kill kids from his own clan? First of all, this boy is killing children. He's killing kids. And Yellowfang says, Broken Star insists on training them too hard and too young. He killed 2 kids during battle practice. They were only 4 moons old, which 4 days, 4 months, we don't know. They were already dead when he brought them back to me. They bore the scratches and bites of a full warrior, not an apprentice. He must have fought them himself. There was nothing I can do. When their mother came to see them, Broken Star was with me. He said that he had found me standing over their dead bodies. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so, it breaks my heart. Like, I could start crying.
Yeah. So then he blamed Yellowfang for doing it. And that's how she ended up getting this, like, reputation that she kills kids. Because Broken Tail was killing them.
And then oh my gosh, and then it, like, brings you back to the first book. She's, like, looking at the kids and she gets, like, emotional.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't.
These books are in-depth and, like, crazy. Another thing, Claw and Broken Tail sharing tongues was gay. That's all I want to say. That did happen. They did.
That's another thing the kids are learning about, LGBT. I did see on TikTok that all the girlies that read Warrior Cats when they were kids are now lesbians, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. It checks out. So, if StarClan is real, and it clearly is, why couldn't they just smite down Tiger Claw for doing all, like, disobeying the Warrior Code and being so bad? Like, why don't they have a hand in things?
See, that is conflicting part of it, because now we're talking about spirituality and religion here.
That's the whole focal point of this book, right?
But it's
God
like,
of it all.
yeah, but we don't see, you're right, we don't see that. We see that people are, like, talking to the cats in the afterlife, and they're giving their lives, and all this stuff, but then we don't see the smiting, and it says in the code, it'll be up to StarClan to make the final call.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They don't make any calls.
No. So it is up to just, like, the bad leadership to make that final call.
Yeah, they believe so heavily in the StarClan, and the only people that really have recognition of, like, that it's real is the leaders, because they have met them face to face, and they have these dreams, and, like, Fireheart is infested with these dreams. I just wish we got a little bit more. If it's generally supposed to be, like, heaven and God, then that makes sense. But if it's supposed to be more of a driving force and more of a Pocahontas aspect, where it's like Mother Nature is all.
I think it is interesting, the perspective of, like, people believing and not believing too, though.
Yeah, that is cool.
Which is very interesting. Like, so, like, Cloudpaw not really believing it, and then Blue Stars, like, after the fire is like, maybe it isn't real. But it's like, you've also had proof that it is real. So, like, what's happening? Like, I'm confused.
We'll talk about Blue Star's descent into... Madness seems like a harsh word to say. Kind of. But her Delulu.
Delulu era.
Her Delulu era. We'll talk about her in a little bit, and we also learn about Bluestar and Oakheart's relationship. Oakhart being the first deputy at the beginning of the book, dying.
So it was like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
On how he died, because it had to do with Tiger Claw too.
Yeah.
So like Tiger Claw killed him in revenge for killing Redtail, but something obviously happened.
Which we really don't know. Never really got a conclusion, so...
No. So...
We'll leave a big old question mark right next to it. But yeah, a lot of things were revealed in that time, in that first 3 books. That was really the biggest thing. Everything else was just kind of garbage. Useless stuff. Yeah, so who would you say in this one is your favorite character?
I would have to say that my favorite character is Yellowfang, because she's the one character that I would actually want to read another book about, because like her story just like breaks my heart, and I feel like she's done real dirty. I am really glad that they didn't kill her or like not accept her into the clan, because she ended up actually being a trustworthy person for Thunderclan.
Oh yeah.
And died in Thunderclan, which again, like so sad. And just done dirty. And, like, she was one of those characters that, like, actually made me laugh in the book. Oh, dang, she funny.
No, I definitely agree. I think her introduction was also very interesting, where it was just her and Fireheart. And that's why they have such a deep connection as the story goes on. And then when she dies, and then she said, I wish you were my son instead of Broken Heart.
That was another quote I wanted to bring up. I was like,
Heart. That's me. That's my name. Broken Heart. I mean, Broken Tail. What's his name?
Broken Face. Was it Tiger Claw or Bluestar that made him, like, forced to... There was, like, a whole couple of chapters of him taking care of Yellowfang.
Bluestar made him do that for his punishment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what makes their relationship so strong, because they're both outsiders.
Yeah.
And they both have this perspective in the clan that they're not trustworthy, so they only have each other to like lean upon. So that's why their relationship is so in depth and so strong. That's also why Yellowfang was so important in the story, because not only does she do so much, and she literally kills one of the antagonists of the story, she is a good mentor. Maybe not mentor, but a good person for Fireheart.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Oh yeah, what's your favorite character?
Well, since you brought it up.
I'm just dying to know over here.
I can see you quaking. I'm a Bluestar stan, okay?
Okay.
I
see it.
Thank you. I really liked her character in the first 3 books, and I liked her story in the last. I think they were very compelling, and that how she like loses her mind a little bit. But it's mostly the loss of loyalty, and not necessarily with her clan, but almost like with her own self and StarClan, which is a more compelling storyline than if she would have lost trust within the clan herself. She's very loyal to her people. Obviously, she's a clan leader. She's very wise. She's very compassionate. Everybody else wants to take over the Wind Clan, and she put her paw down, and she says, "No, this is not our code." She was the only one I would believe that she would actually follow the code. She was a really good role model for a lot of the cast there, but mostly it's just her story. I think I would love an origin story. I feel like there probably is one. Her and like how she lost her first 5 lives?
Yeah, I think it actually is called Bluestar's Prophecy.
Oh, well there you go.
I think so at least.
Because I do want to know like how she came to power. Has she always been in Thunderclan? Because I don't really know enough about her.
Right.
Has she always been here? Who was her parents? How did her relationship with Oakhart stop? Was it an actual relationship, or was it kind of a convenience, like, I need to have kids for later in the story? Because when Oakhart died, she was sad, but she wasn't like, he was my lover sad. I want to know the more in-depth story of it.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions for you, because I was having a difficult time of trying to figure it out. But where does the story take place? Because if you're looking at the seasons and how they're breaking down, they have drought in the summer. They have all 4 seasons, and there's snow in the winter. Mm-hmm. So, like, where in the Americas? Like, maybe they're in England. I don't know. I don't know if there's any accents on these people. Because when they describe the cars, which they called them monsters, I think. It took me an uncomfortable amount of time to figure out that the Thunder Path was a road.
I know.
And the monsters were a car.
For some reason, I was picturing, like, this neighborhood, and the monsters were lawnmowers.
Okay, I can see that, though.
Like, that's what I thought it was for a bit. Like, it was like they were always mowing the lawn over there because it was a big patch of land. Like, they're right behind the neighborhood.
If you look at the map, it looks like they're just out in the wilderness. A general farm, there's farms and forests and stuff.
Right.
Like, there's not really a town. Oh my god. Can we talk about, like, how there's a key for the terrain? Oh my gosh. Can we chill on the map?
She went hard on the map.
Very confused of where this takes place because I don't understand how you can get all 4 seasons and have such a drastic winter and a drastic summer.
You know, I'm a selfish reader. I feel like I always implement the story into where I am, so I'm like, this is Michigan.
Where in Michigan are you getting droughts, though? We are the wettest state in the world. 5 lakes. Where are you seeing droughts?
Also, where are the mountains?
I mean, any hill is a big enough amount to attack. So.
True. So this is the UP.
Okay.
This is the UP, but in one of those small towns.
So where do you see farmlands in the UP? Like, so we're right in that area. Where's the forest?
So let's go a little bit below the UP. So we're in the main hand, but near the tippy top. There's some farms.
Okay.
You just so they have a mix. I think if I'm being more realistic, I feel like it would maybe be like, there's obviously not like a drought. Maybe like somewhere in the Appalachians.
Okay, I was thinking like Tennessee, so maybe on like the east side of the state, like, cause there's mountains there, and obviously forests.
You know what I want to see? I think actually Erin Hunter needs to do kind of like what they did with the Hunger Games, where they showed the districts in the United States. She needs to come up with a map of in the United States where the clans are.
She doesn't have any reason to do a map.
Erin, if you're listening to this right now, we need a map of the United States and the clans.
Please. I don't think this stretches out the entire United States.
Well, yeah, I think it's probably...
It could, is the thing. It could.
Erin can do anything she wants.
This is her world, we're just living in it.
Can't wait to see it. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks. Let us know when you're done. Okay. So, book 4 is Rising Storm. So this is where the death really comes in.
The cover's literally red because of the blood that is shed in this book.
It's like, why are the curtains yellow? Why is the book red? No, we have, like, Whitethroat, also a really cool name. Running Wind, cool name. Yellowfang, this is where the fire happens, so we have a lot of death. What I liked about this book is that we get the intro to the 2 legs, which I think should have been a more compelling part, but I guess it's very stereotypical to have, like, the humans be the reasons for the downfall of animals.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere in, like, most movies and books about that. So, we have clean slate, almost. Like, the fire kind of destroys everything. And there should have been more on the fire focus. Because it was, like, 2 chapters, maybe, and then they just moved on and went back home. Like, their home is destroyed. You're gonna have to think of a home. I just didn't see the point of the fire, I guess. Other than just killing off creatures.
Because fire was brought up quite a few times in this book, and it was like almost like a prophecy of the fire.
It was.
But then it was like you said, it's so short. So we've been talking about fire for this whole series, and how it's a prophecy, and like there's something about, what is it, fire alone can save our clan.
Yeah.
But then the fire destroys the clan.
Yeah.
And nothing good really comes out of it, except for death.
Yeah, because doesn't Blue Star lose a life? So by this time, she was down at least to 6 or 7. This is when she starts to, like, really descend into her madness and starts turning on StarClan. She's like, how can they let this happen? Like, we've been loyal to them this entire time. How can they let our home be destroyed? And this is also the book that Tiger Claw becomes Tiger Star. I was shocked by the ending. I was like, I didn't expect it. I was like, what?
I didn't either.
This is also the book where Sandstorm starts to get a little romantic with Tigerheart. Fireheart. Get there eventually. Can we talk about Sandstorm for just like a solid second? She was acting like a pick-me girl.
100%.
Because Fireheart wanted to go be with his nephew and like save his nephew. And then she was mad. She's like, what about me? What about me? I'm right here. You were supposed to be my friend. Even though she hated him 2 books ago.
She was just like, I feel like Fireheart has not been focusing enough on the love that he could share. So Erin had to add a little bit of spice there.
We're going to take a second here to shout out the Patreon subscribers.
The Patreon: Nick W., Ashely A., Tim O., Janeth P., Patrick C., Emily P., Jack J., Mike T., Tracy H., Stephanie A., Hunter H., Sabrina P., and Lulu. Thank you all for your support!
Well, thank you guys for following and subscribing to the podcast and following that warrior code. We appreciate it. It means the absolute world to me and Starclan, so thank you so much. If you guys want to be part of the Patreon and the Warrior Clan, go ahead and head over to Patreon today and subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, who would you say is your favorite relationship in this series?
So, I'm going to say this ironically because I just think it's so great.
Don't be lying. Tell me your favorite.
Okay, but my favorite is actually Firestar and Graystripe.
What? What? No, please explain this to me.
Because I just think it is so funny how their dynamic works. I feel like Firepaw trusted Graystripe with his life for almost the whole series until the end, where he's like, yeah, maybe Graystripe isn't in my best interest. And then he, doesn't trust him anymore. But it takes, the whole series to get there because of how their dynamic fluctuated so much, and I found it very interesting the whole time. I was very intrigued because, Graystripe was like, we're best buds for life, heck yeah, and then he just leaves and goes to RiverClan, and then Fireheart is left being like, wow, I lost my best friend. My best friend is gone, and then he just comes back, and then they're best buds again. The
way I imagine Fireheart and Graystripe is that, they met in college, and they maybe, share a dorm together, right? Because that's what happened, right? And then they were in the same degree, or, same major, so they had a lot of classes together. And then they broke apart because they moved states. And then Graystripe went and became a dad, got a beer belly. And then Fireheart went and became a CEO. And then they met back together because they ended up moving back in the same state. And then he's the CEO of a building, and then he works in that building. That's how I envision Graystripe.
That's actually beautiful.
Works for Fireheart.
That's a beautiful analogy.
That's exactly how I imagine their relationship.
That is wonderful, and that's why it's my favorite. Because what the heck? I just don't get it.
No, I definitely, just to support you for a second, because you read it.
Thank you.
No, I definitely get it. I like the idea of them getting separated by choice. It wasn't like fate or destiny or anything like that. He chose to leave. It's almost like what would have happened if Ron would have went to Slytherin instead of Gryffindor. They weren't forced to stay together type deal. My favorite relationship is definitely Firepaw and Yellowfang. Just them both being outsiders, and they were brought into the story almost against their will, and they could have had such a big impact on everything. But I do really like Star and the Starclan too. I think that's her coming out of that faith, having to accept that maybe it isn't exactly what she was always told it was. So I think book 5, The Dangerous Path, and then The Darkest Hour, those 2 books were to say mature is harsh because the entire thing is very mature. Yeah. This is where things started to get very serious, and more serious things started to happen. Bramblekit being Tiger Claw's son, there's this almost generational guilt to it. Of I don't want to be just known as Tiger Claw's son. I don't want to be a traitor's son. Fireheart having to be well, you're more than that. You're more than what your father was. I think this is crazy to introduce in this.
So wild.
But I think it's a good plot point. In the book, it's just crazy that they added it in.
Again, we've talked about this whole time with the amount of death. Pushing cats in front of cars.
And then Cloudkit being taken away by a hawk. Because he's deaf. Dude, the fact that... I'm sorry, not Cloud Kit, Snow Kit. Snow Kit being deaf, representation in the story, but then they said that he'll never become a warrior.
Right.
Was messed up. And then they made fun of him and bullied him, which was messed up. And then him being taken by a hawk.
Erin Hunter, are you ableist?
I mean, she did see the broken face thing. It was kind of messed up too. Imagine it. No one helped him. They knew he was deaf at that point, and no one helped him.
So no one's gonna help him.
And then Greypool dying in this book too, which Greypool wasn't a huge part of the story, but it was also very sad. Everyone like freaking dying from like not even like natural causes or fights, but just like falling down a mountain or to a river, off a cliff, or rocks falling down.
How many cats have to fall down a cliff to realize, like, maybe we shouldn't go to that cliff anymore?
Apparently they didn't see Mufasa and Scar.
So they didn't see the educational text of The Lion King.
Oh, it's all making sense now.
Okay.
And then this is obviously when Blue Star starts to get more and more in depth, and then eventually she does die and give her, I guess her lives or like her leadership to Fireheart, and then he becomes Firestar.
Yeah. There it is.
There it is.
He went all the way to the top, baby.
He did it. Book 6. How did you think the ending was? The whole story coming down to this one book.
The ending itself, I mean, so much happened in the book, but the ending itself was the most anticlimactic thing. It was like he just nodded his head at someone, and it was just the end of the book.
Yeah. It ends, and it says, Sandstorm pressed her flank to Firestar's. Blue Star was right. Fire did save the clan, and now there are 4 clans again. Gray Stripe added, just as there should be. No, there are 5, Firestar thought. So is this an omen to Blood Clan becoming part of, like, the story now? Or are they leaning to a new clan starting? Is it Star Clan?
I feel like those are the only other 2 that they could count. Unless he's trying to say that he wants all the clans to become one.
Yeah, because it says here, thank you, Star Clan, Fireheart muttered. Thank you for staying with us, 5th clan of the forest. So is this, in the series, if Star Clan become more serious, is he going to try to, like, astral project himself into Star Clan and, like, try to bring him out, and, like, bring them out a little bit more?
That would be where we would have to keep reading.
Well, time to go. I gotta get to read it.
We have, like, 30 more books to read, so we'll be back.
Yeah, I agree with you, though, that the ending is very anticlimactic.
Oh, there is a book, Sky Clan's Destiny.
Oh, Sky Clan?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So, there's some tea there.
No, I think with it all drawing to a close last book, I don't know if it was because there was more after that she didn't put that much into it, but for being the final book in the main series, there was just not a lot in there. There wasn't a lot going on, and then to introduce a whole other clan in the last book, and then having Scrooge, which is the worst name. I hate that name. How are you going to make your antagonists? You have Bone, you have Boulder, and then you have Scrooge. Is this Disney? What is this? Sponsored by Disney. I wish she would have introduced them in the 5th book, or even the 4th book, but to put it in the 6th, it's like, it was adding this tension that really didn't need to be there.
Right.
Was it just to kill Tiger Claw? Speaking of Tiger Claw dying, you want to describe what happened, please?
I won't get over this, because again, I cannot picture myself at 8 years old reading a book where they kill someone so bad that his organs are spilling out, and everybody watches as Tiger Claw loses all 9 lives in front of everyone.
Yeah.
That
no one to stop.
Crazy! No one put any cobwebs on that.
Now, if we're looking at word code here, right? Mm-hmm. It says that, no. No, it says that we should be, like, protecting each other. Like, there's no point that he has to die. Imprison him. Okay? Or, like, do something. But the fact that this guy is literally having his guts ripped out of him, and then they think that they could fight this guy? Scrooge is the Thanos of this universe.
Yeah.
And they just think that they can just run up and fight on him.
Yeah, of course, like, Fireheart did train and all this stuff, but he really didn't. Yeah, and he just became the strongest cat out of anyone in all 4 clans.
Yeah.
This man's, for the first 6 months of his life, was just eating cat food.
Yeah. And laying in the sun.
Yeah, he was a little chonk, and then all of a sudden he became the strongest cat out of all 4. He immediately beat up a cat as soon as he got brought in there. 6 months old, he beat up this cat that had been a warrior.
Yeah.
A warrior for years.
Yeah.
His collar gets taken off, he's strongest. He's stronger than a warrior. Now he's attacking Scrooge. He's attacking, like...
I can't take you seriously already by talking about this, but when you say Scrooge, it goes everything off the track. I guess to play devil's advocate again, I think it is an homage to him being fire, and how he's the fire that cleanses the forest, and like it protects the clan, and how fire is so indestructible and nothing can beat it, except for water, obviously. Too bad they didn't have a water cat, right? Where was River Clan when you need them? No,
he should have fallen in love with the River Clan cat.
Right?
It should have been him.
Fire and sand
and
is
water.
so boring.
Ugh.
Fire and water? Zutara. What were your thoughts of the overall story?
As much as I'm making fun of it, there's still parts of me that do want to read other books. And maybe it's because I do want to see if it's the same thing. I'm looking at all the books that there are, and there are so many. Let me read some of the names really quick. Tiger Claw's Fury, Misty Star's Omen, Cloud Star's Journey, The Untold Stories. We got... Who's Goosefeather? Goosefeather's Curse. We got Maple Shade's Vengeance, Ravenpaw's Farewell. Then we got, like, Shadows of the Clans. I will say Erin did something right. She does keep you locked in. Like, you really want to be locked in. So, overall, I hate on it, but I do be loving cats. And I think it is a little bit interesting here and there. I feel like there are some slow parts. I wish there was more, like, playful parts. I feel like we could use that, balance all the death. We did see a little bit of, like, playfulness in the first book. They're cats. It's not all about death and fighting and protecting the clan. Like, let's see some of the fun.
Let me see some zoomies.
Right? Like, I know they be having zoomies.
Yeah. There's gotta be, like, something to just break up. If it's all bad all the time, then it kind of, like, pulls you out of the story a little bit.
Right.
And I think we could have had a little bit of that broken up. I always think of this when I was reading the book as, like, actual people. So I think, like I said earlier, if she could have just rewrote this as, like, a more of a, like, a young adult, where they were, like, maybe, like, Khajiits or something, or, like, a cat species, humanoid species, then it could have been a little bit more compelling if it was more her range. It just felt like she was trying to put too much into a little kid's book.
Young adult series would have been sick for this book. That is how it should have been advertised instead of a children's book. Because, yeah, you were talking about, like, the Hunger Games, but when I see Warrior Cats, I'm thinking younger kids. Whereas Hunger Games, I feel like it was more, like, teenager, young adult. So, like, if this was put into the same category as Hunger Games, it would have been stronger and better. There would have been more, like, artistic freedom in that sense.
Do you want to play a game?
I'm down.
All right. So I really didn't want to do a whole, like, you know, the typical game where I try to make you figure out which cat goes to which clan. I think it'd be more fun to figure out which cat we are and which clan we're part of. I got some quizzes here. We're going to figure out what our name is and which clan we belong to.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is find out our name.
Yay!
Okay,
so excited.
So this is on the actual website, so this is real. It's like finding out
not
the
fake.
Harry Potter. Okay, so it says, what is the first letter of the name of your favorite childhood pet? The second one is, what is your birth month? So that's going to get our full name. So you can go first.
Alright, are you guys ready? Okay, I'm going to feel like a fake cat person because my favorite childhood pet is a dog, but you guys can't stop that. My parents bought the dog, so. My childhood pet's name was Ollie, so that means that my first part of my name is Oak. And then my birth month is in May, so guess what my name is? Oak Flower.
Oh, oak flower. Let's go.
I do want to, like, maybe put in a petition to Starclan, though, because I really think my name should be Pumpkin Spice.
Pumpkin Spice and Broken Heart is our, like, original name, and then this is our actual name.
So my name is Oak Flower, but I identify as Pumpkin Spice.
I mean, this technically is Warrior Cat, so that could be your kid name.
Oh, right. My warrior name is Pumpkin Spice.
No, this is your warrior name. Okay. So, my favorite childhood pet, I'm gonna go with Leo. So, Lion is my first name. And then, my birth month is April, so my name is Lion Storm.
Lion Storm.
Lion Storm!
Okay, so the next part of the next segment of the podcast, we're gonna do a whole ceremony for our names, because we're becoming warriors.
So, we have to sit in silence for the next 12 hours. We may begin now.
If you leave for these
You
12
failed.
hours... What clan do you think you're going to be a part of?
Probably River Clan.
Okay. I think I'm going for, like, Blood Clan.
You're not going to be Blood Clan.
No, I feel like I would be Wind Clan.
We're going to do what clan we're a part of, and then this is a classic of, like, you know, there's a question, and then they give you so many options.
What makes you feel better after a bad day?
I'm going to go with curling up with a good book or movie.
I'm going to say having a bit of time to myself for some peace and quiet.
What does your room look like? I'm going to go with comfortable and lived in. Because I have a lot of stuff, and I like hanging out in my room. I think it's pretty comfortable, so
I'm going to go with organized chaos. I know where everything goes, even if it seems messy. Because my room is very small, and I have a ton of crap in there, but it's not, like, dirty. It's just, there's a lot of stuff. A friend has been dealing with anxiety over something. You... Just gonna take a minute. ...
These are very long choices. Yeah, I would definitely do all of these.
Me too.
I think the very first thing I would do is lend a sympathetic ear. Venting about their problems will let them get their frustration out of their systems, and they'll feel a whole lot better.
I'd probably do that one too, but just to offer another perspective, I would do most of these. So I would say offer suggestions on ways to deal with whatever's making them feel anxious. Those feelings won't go away until they deal with what's causing them.
How many friends do you have? Why do you want to know? What are you going to do to them, Erin?
The next question is, what are their addresses?
What scares them?
What are their weaknesses?
Do they live near a hospital? Okay, I'm going to go with tons. Plenty to choose from, Erin.
I'm going to say I have a few really good friends. What would your friends say is your greatest trait?
Oh, I can answer this. Okay. So I'll choose for you, you choose for me.
I don't want you to choose for me.
Okay, I'm going to go...
What do you have to say, huh?
No.
I'm being held hostage.
I'm going to go with intelligence because you're the only one I know that has a master's degree.
I'm a literal therapist on a podcast talking about warrior cat. Okay, thank you. For you, I'm going to say, I don't see bully on here.
No kindness.
I'm going to go with creativity.
Of course you are.
What is that supposed to
Easiest
mean?
out.
Like I said, bully's not on here.
That is my greatest strength. There's a lot of questions.
A friend is being bullied by some classmates. You, ...
Do nothing.
I'm the one being bullied here.
Offer to talk to the bullies? Not happening.
I'm not trying to get beat. It says, offer to set up a trap of some kind for the bullies. We'll make them slip up in front of the teacher so they'll be punished. My friend will be safe.
I'm gonna go with suggest they tell their teacher. Trying to solve this ourselves is only gonna get us in trouble.
I want to do that one too, but I feel like I need to spice it up.
The answer, honestly, we need to figure out what clan you're a part of.
Okay, you're right. I'm also going to suggest to tell the teacher. Which one of these does not scare you?
Let's read all of them, because they're pretty dark.
Confrontation.
Well, that's the bottom one.
Deep murky water, heights, strange sounds, and darkness.
How do you rank that?
So I'm going to say confrontation first.
That's the one that you're not, or the one...
The one that does scare me. So
Okay. So this is like which ones do not scare you.
Okay.
This is the one you choose. I'm gonna go with heights. I'm not really scared of heights.
Yeah.
I love being on tall buildings and like planes and stuff. Because darkness can be creepy at night when you're like taking the trash out and you see somebody walking across the street.
Yeah.
Strange sounds, especially when you're alone.
Those scare me a lot.
Like, are we talking about like you know, normal sounds? Or are we talking like...
Yeah, like I
I
think any sounds scare me at night. A lot of the time, my cats are always doing things at night, and I have to get up and see if it's them, because I'm just scared. So I think I'm going to go with deep, murky water, because I love swimming, and I wouldn't swim in deep, murky water, but, like, it doesn't scare me.
What would your friends say is your worst trait? This is my favorite question.
I'm choosing for you, Vanity.
I'm choosing gullible for you.
Okay,
Without a doubt.
I take that. I take that for sure.
I mean,
Man.
we could both be impulsive, though, too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad trait, though.
Okay, impulsive.
What do you look for in a good story? Well, none of these are word cats. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Dang.
All of these, though. Literally all of them.
Yeah, same. I think I'm going to go with world building.
I'm gonna go with characters, because that's what I usually drive for, is, like, I want good characters in my story. I think that was the last question. Ooh!
Oh my gosh, I'm dying to know! Gosh, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I am a true warrior of RiverClan! I'm clever and graceful and love the beauty of water. RiverClan cats are contented, sleek, and well-fed. Are they calling me fat? I'm a chunky girl with long fur and glossy coats. They love beautiful things and often collect rocks, shells, and feathers for their dens. They do not fear water. Is that the only reason why I'm not afraid of deep, murky water, so I'm in RiverClan?
Maybe.
They are strong swimmers who can move silently and scentless through the water. They scoop fish out of the river from the bank, a skill most cats in the other clans cannot master.
Ooh. Which is crazy, because I also mastered that, because I'm also RiverClan. So it must not, because I didn't choose the water one, and I got RiverClan.
Well, shout out to us being well-fed.
Let's go.
Yeah!
Woo! Well, that was fun. I'm glad they were both RiverClan, and then we're gonna know the bro before Poe is the real code. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's the real warrior code.
The only one. We don't need 15 rules.
That's number one. Nothing could ever go wrong. Okay, is there anything that you would have done differently, would have changed if you were writing this book? This is purely your own opinions. For example, I think the biggest issue is just plot. Like, I want the plot dwindled down to a more center-focused plot. And if Tiger Claw is the antagonist, then make him the antagonist. I think there was too many, like, Broken Tail, and then eventually the Blood Clan with Scrooge, and then Tiger Claw, but also not Tiger Claw, but also Tiger Claw, and, like, the River Clans, and, like, the Shadow. There was too much going on that there was no real sense of allyship, which that number 1 or 2, they're your allies. So I think there should have been more of a focal point of the plot. And then I just more effort. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, that just because it's a kid's book doesn't mean it has to be a bad book. And not necessarily saying this series is bad in any way. Like, it's not like the worst thing I've ever read, but there could have been a little bit more effort in it. And I was very surprised with the lack of Shadow Clan. I think there could have been more.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it's just coming in the next series of Shadow Clan, but they felt very like they're just over there hanging out. Like, it was mostly River Clan that was the focal point.
Yeah.
And then obviously let's reel it back on the dying. And that comic relief is so important. Like, I think it desperately needed one character that was just, cracking jokes or have moments where because they were still kittens. They were 6 months old. I think this takes place over a couple of years, so they're still kittens at this point too, because cats are kittens for 2 years. I think there just could have been I think she forgot it was a children's book.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, there's only so much I can say that isn't, 1, repeating myself, or 2, that really matters in the long run, because there's just so much to this world, there's like 50 books or something like that. So there is so much that unravels with the rest of the story that could happen that I don't know about. But within these 6 books.
These 6 books being the start to all of these 50 books, I just feel like there could have been more give that plot baseline. Because now, I mean, we didn't read the other books, so I'm not sure. But I feel like it is going to be hard to go based off these 6 books with what she gave here. But I think a lot of my opinions are kind of similar to yours in that sense. It is a kid's book, a lot of death, and it could have been written in a little bit of a different way to have been more of a kid's book. Yeah, I would have loved to see how more of the characters process through some of the things that they're going through, having more of those lighthearted moments.
It sounds like you're about to start crying.
I just would have loved to, I don't know, I just feel so bad.
I believe that.
They went through so much.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Those poor little kitties. I just want to pet them.
Okay. I think we did this now.
Oh my gosh, you know that song that's like, I love cats. I love every kind of cat. I just want to hug all of them, but I can't hug every cat. Okay, I'll leave it there.
Okay. Great.
I am a cat lover and I love to run. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about cats again.
Sponsored by her. I think we covered a good chunk of this. I'm very surprised we've covered so much. I really didn't think we would be able to cover as much as we did. But that's just a very sad message that there's not a lot going on in these books, that we could cover it in an hour and a half. If you want to dive into this, it's not as in-depth as you think. There's a lot of books, but a lot of it's just kind of repeating itself. So if you want to just have that, that gloat of yeah, I've read the entire word in that series, you can do it. Right. That will stop you. So I know there's a lot of books. So just overarching, what do you think is going to happen next? Either the next series that are coming out, in the next over arc. So what do you think is going to happen next?
I have no clue how there are so many books. I can't even begin to picture what is in all of these books. I understand where she's writing books, talking about the standalone ones where she's getting in depth of, the other characters.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I would probably want to read some of those based off this series. But when she gets into, the 2nd series, the 3rd series, the 4th series, what is happening? Mm-hmm. I really think that's how she gets people to read them. Yeah. It's because, what? How are there 4 series? I guess it's just new generations of cats.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is Firestar the protagonist in the entire thing?
Right.
Or is it different people?
And I'm assuming Firestar is probably going to be in there for a while. That's what I would think, is that Firestar's there for a while, but then there's a lot of flow of, the generations of cats below Firestar, and then, I'm curious to know if Firestar actually succeeds in, bringing the clans together. Yeah. Or if there's, a lot more tension within the clans.
Because he's, a Kittypet, and now he's a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which I know, occasionally here and there, there'd be a cat that's remember he was a kitty pet? And then no one would say anything.
Dude, shut up.
Oh, okay. Do you want to bring up that Firestar, how Firestar dies? Firestar doesn't lose a life during the battle.
He does.
He does.
He does lose one life.
How did he lose that life again?
So Scrooge attacks him in the last book. He bites down on him, and so he goes and he sees everybody there. He starts to see an image of himself starting to form into the Shadow Clan. So every time he loses a life, more of himself goes, which kind of pulls into Bluestar losing herself every time she dies, because it's her body or her spiritual self gets pulled into StarClan. So she starts to lose herself more and more and more. And I think that's what's going to happen with Fireheart, is he's going to start to lose himself as well. But
I guess I'm just so confused because Tigerstar apparently comes back.
Tigerstar comes back in the next one?
So the friends that I was talking about earlier who played Warrior Cats as kids, I told them that I was doing this podcast because I was I never read these books, and now I am as an adult, and I was talking to them about it, and they were yeah, it got to be so much. Yeah. There was just so many different stories, and they were what really got me is just how Firestar dies. And I was I'm not gonna get that far. How does Firestar die?
Last life? Or
like
okay.
finally, after the 9 lives,
okay.
how he dies. And this is just me hearing from other people, so I don't know if this is accurate, but they said that Firestar dies from a tree falling on him. Lightning strikes the tree, and the tree falls.
There was a scene where the lightning strikes a tree at the end of this book, too. The series. Like, it was like just a random comment. Or like lightning strikes the ground or something, and like the land, like... Something.
But he doesn't lose life there, right?
No. It was just like lightning strikes nearby. Ooh, foreshadowing.
Like, for real, that is how he dies after all... And apparently that's in the 4th series.
Okay. I mean, that just doesn't...
So, after all that time...
Yeah.
After all the battles, after how many times he almost died or lost a life in battle, he dies from a tree.
A tree landing on him.
Yeah.
I want to know how. Is he has broken legs so he can't run?
Apparently he was fighting with Tiger Claw, which can someone comment?
Yeah, can someone...
If someone who's read these books and is like a diehard fan, can you talk about, does Tiger Claw come back and how does Firestar die? Because, I don't want to read all these books, so I want to know the tea.
Yeah, because Sparkdowns, you gotta, read through all the chapters to find it.
I know, and I don't trust these blogs, because these kids just be saying whatever they feel.
You need to go on Wario Wiki.
Okay, well, now I downloaded the app,
so
maybe I'll just, get into the lore. I don't want to read all these books.
Yeah, there's gotta be, a YouTube channel that's, lore of warrior cats or something.
I want the lore of all 50 books in one video. Yeah. I'll sit down for 3 hours and watch that.
Okay, send it to me.
Okay, cool.
I want Cliff Notes, though.
Okay.
You could do that.
I'll make a podcast based on the 3-hour video.
You should make just a warrior cat podcast. We'll all listen to it, right, guys?
Okay, guys, like and subscribe if you want to hear Leave a comment below if you want a Warrior Cats podcast based on an adult who hasn't read them ever in her life.
Okay, let's do that.
This has been an experience. I'm glad that we did this, but I wasn't expecting this, so it's been interesting.
This is I did the Heartstopper series, which was 4 books, but this is the longest series I've done on the podcast. So it was very cool to, do something that was a little bit drawn out, a little bit more in depth, and really dive into, more of a series. And like I said earlier, I feel like we covered a lot for the amount of time we've been here, and that's just saying, I don't know, that's a good thing that we're covering a lot. But I do really enjoy, maybe we should do another, big series like this and do it, once a year or something. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it is time for us to leave.
No! You talk about Warrior Cats all day.
But before we do one last thing. We do the rating scale. However, we do a little bit different here on the book stop. We make up our own thing. So I would give The Warrior, The Prophecy Begins by Erin Hunter 2 moonlit nights of sharing tongues before finding kits to bring into battle out of 6.
Oh my gosh.
If that doesn't describe the whole series.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So, 2 out of 6, yeah, not great. Not great. 2 out of 6 because I could only get through 2 books before I was done. I mean, we already talked about it. I just really wish there was more of the plot. I think if they just got a good plot and dived into that plot, this book would have been so much better.
Mm-hmm.
The series would have been so much better. The idea was there. The characters were there. Themes and the passages they want to put in this book, it's there. It just wasn't delivered properly.
Amen.
Okay, about amen. So, if you're saying amen to Starclan, what's the term? Alright, what would you give this series?
I would have to give 2 out of 5 religiously and politically conflicted cats. 5 being the amount of clans there are, even though there's only 4.
Right. Technically, they're not 6. I'm confused.
So, yeah, I have to agree. if she wasn't focused so much on writing so many books, I think she could have spent more time on making the books that started it stronger. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling that she was planning on writing so many books this whole time. It was like, this is going to be a big series. I mean, I would love to hear her perspective on it. She should have a podcast. I want to know more. But I feel like she, from the beginning, wanted to just write a lot of books and had this idea to just write a bunch of books about these cats. And I would love to have seen more effort put into the beginning itself.
Yeah.
Because I think it could have been a lot stronger, and it could have been really cool. And it is cool. I think a lot of kids that grew up with Warriors loved it, for sure. With the amount of fan fiction, fan art, all these apps, Roblox, Warrior Cats, people love this series. But when you read it as an adult and you haven't experienced that love from the beginning, seeing it from an outside perspective, it could have been stronger.
Yeah, I mean, Erin, if you gotta do anything, we could, all three of us kind of like collab and do a podcast together. We can like, get your more in-depth look of like what inspired it and like your process. Like, just let's reach out. thebookstoppodcast@gmail.com.
Can't wait to hear from you.
Reach out.
We need to see a map of the United States and
or England or wherever this takes place. It doesn't have to be in America.
True.
But yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Book Stop.
Anytime.
You'll be on next year. We're going to be doing a super cool, fun one, and I'm very excited about it.
I can't wait for that one.
That's gonna be with 3 people because you're gonna be on with Kim that year.
Yep.
So that's gonna be chaos. I'm just gonna sit back and let you guys talk because it's gonna be chaotic.
Well, if you ever want me to hop in and do the next series, which is the new Prophecy, let me know.
Okay.
We can read another 6 books.
Maybe not this year. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.